Does Daredevil Born Again take place during the Blip? Welcome back to Nerdist News. I'm Dan Casey, and today we're echolocating our way through the MCU rumor mill to examine Daredevil Born Again. Specifically, we're trying to determine when this 18-episode series will take place in the Marvel Cinematic Universe timeline. Now, the answer could be darker than any of us expected. Now, none of this is confirmed just yet, so take it with a kingpin-sized grain of salt. But it could be a potential spoiler. So if you want to go into the Man Without Fear's triumphant return without the fear of potential spoilers, well, think fast. Okay, let's get into it, shall we? Thanks to some internet sleuths analyzing recent set photos, which we spotted via Inverse, we have our best idea yet of when Daredevil Born Again actually takes place. The 18-episode Disney Plus series from Covert Affairs co-creators Matt Corman and Chris Ord seemingly takes place during the darkest period in the MCU's history. Thor: The Dark World.
No.
I'm sorry, I meant The Blip. So what does all this mean for the MCU? Well, in the seemingly innocuous set photos of Matt Murdock on a New York City street, you can spot a sign on a church behind him reading March 15th, 2020. That places the events of this series squarely during the Blip, the 5-year-long snapture that happened when Thanos wiped out half the universe's sentient life during Avengers Infinity War. Now, most of our glimpses into life during the Blip thus far have come at either the very beginning or the tail end of it, with people either vanishing into dust before our very eyes.
I don't feel so good.
Or dealing with the aftermath through expository dialogue that really just doesn't do it.
They called it the Blip.
Now, perhaps no one took this as hard as Hawkeye did, abandoning his happy-go-lucky Archer persona to become the murderous Ronin. Clint found the world's worst barber, then did his impression of Russell Crowe's fighting around the world. From the Yakuza in Tokyo to the tracksuit mafia in New York City, Clint took out his anger on evildoers seeking to fill the power vacuum. And speaking of that power vacuum, it sounds like exactly what Daredevil Born Again will explore. Wilson Fisk, for example, not only survived the Blip, but thrived. He built power, resources, and a criminal empire for himself, including his own personal army, the tracksuit mafia. Now, they may not be the most effective fighting force, but they've got heart, bro.
That's all you've got! Come on, throw another one!
And others like Sharon Carter also broke bad during this time frame, becoming the shadowy power broker as global black markets thrived in the devastating aftermath of the Blip. So suffice to say, there will be no shortage of people in need of justice, and Born Again can give us a street-level look into what life was actually like during the snapture in New York City through Daredevil's unique POV. And yes, that includes plenty of legal drama as well. According to star Charlie Cox, I think because the number of episodes they've committed to, there will be a heavy influence of courtroom stuff. Matt Murdock the lawyer in the new show. So I'm heavily focused on researching that area of this character and his life. It was one of the areas we didn't do a huge amount of exploration around before. Setting Born Again during the Blip is also the perfect lens through which to bring Frank Castle back into the MCU. Early reports indicate that Jon Bernthal will reprise his role as Marvel's ultraviolet anti-hero, the Punisher. Now, if you thought Hawkeye got his hands dirty, well, buckle up, because we've seen exactly how vindictive the Punisher can be in the face of overwhelming odds. Now, of course, none of this is confirmation that the entire series will take place during the dark days of the Blip, but it makes sense given where we find our heroes in the MCU's present day. Matt Murdock seems to be doing pretty well for himself in the present.
Sorry I'm late. No problem.
He's representing Peter Parker after Mysterio doxed him, he's paying a visit to LA to pick up a brand new suit, and even to Hulk smash.
Morning.
I said.
It was great, though.
As for Kingpin, he seemingly met his untimely end in the finale of Hawkeye. His personal assassin Echo gunned him down in the street after learning that he was the one behind her father's death. And as comic book readers well know, Kingpin actually did survive that attack in the comics, thanks in large part to not being named Uncle Ben. Now, Kingpin was blinded as a result of this attack in the comics, and later in Daredevil number 50, we learn he got reconstructive eye surgery. So will we see this particular storyline play out in Born Again? Well, maybe, but this could prove fruitful ground to explore in the upcoming Echo series on Disney Plus as well. Now, rumors making the rounds purport that Kingpin will aim to seize power through more legitimate means in the MCU's future. How? By running for mayor of New York City. Now, perhaps we could see that play out in this series if the showrunners decide to split the timeline between the Blip and present day, but who knows. As for Frank Castle, his current whereabouts are unknown, but he does seem to own an awful lot of pickup trucks based on the logos I see all over my neighborhood. Now, the same goes for others like Foggy Nelson and Karen Page. Both of them are AWOL for the time being. Maybe they wound up getting snapped during the blip. I mean, it would definitely have a devastating effect on old Hornhead and would explain why neither Eldon Henson nor Deborah Ann Wall seem to be involved in this revival series. But who knows, maybe we'll see them appear later on. While the MCU is currently pruning its timeline to put out fewer shows and movies each year, Daredevil Born Again apparently has at least 2 seasons planned. Speaking with Newsweek, Kingpin himself Vincent D'Onofrio said, "And by the second season, there are gigantic payoffs. In the first season too, but I can't say much about that, but the fans are gonna really get what they want. It's really quite cool to be doing it." Now, of course, this second season could mean the gargantuan 18-episode first season is going to be split into 2 9-episode seasons, and they're all filming them at once. Mostly, though, we're just crossing our fingers that D'Onofrio's prediction at GalaxyCon actually comes true. As for what we do know about the series, well, it probably won't be following the 1986 Born Again storyline for which it's named. This iconic story from Frank Miller, David Mazzucchelli, Joe Rosen, and Christy McShaley saw Daredevil's descent into madness as the Kingpin completely destroyed his life. Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds pretty ripe for adaptation, right? Well, the only problem is they basically covered a fair amount of this saga in Daredevil Season 2. Here, the Born Again is a bit tongue-in-cheek. Maybe it refers to how Daredevil is born again in the MCU. He must rise to prominence as one of New York City's stalwart defenders in the absence of so many other heroes. And considering how fans reacted to Daredevil's brief appearances in both Spider-Man No Way Home and She-Hulk, well, we're more than ready to see Matt Murdock's rebirth in all of its glory when the series finally makes its way to Disney+. As for whether it's in the MCU's past, present, or future, only time will tell.
Time is it? It's 12:22.
For now, though, we'll keep you posted with the latest over on Nerdist.com. In the meantime, though, tell us, what do you think of this news? Would you want to see a Daredevil series set during the blip? And who else do you want to see make an appearance on this show?
Bullseye.
Let us know in the comments below, and for the latest and greatest in the world of pop culture, make sure you stay tuned to Nerdist.com.